Greetings all! Today, we'll be examining the uncommon fire-type Pokemon Magby, the live Coal Pokémon, its relatively rare evolution Magmar, the Spitfire Pokémon, and its rare final evolution Magmortar, the Blast Pokémon. Living embodiments of heat and fire, and a terrible force to face unprepared, the members of the Magby family are potent creatures that can turn up the heat against anything that dares to cross them.
Magby are bipedal beasts that have a red body with 2 clawed feet and 3 clawed hands, and a tail that sweeps a bit behind them. There is a flame-like yellow pattern on their torso, with a black ring around their neck, and their black eyes stand in contrast to their red head, yellow tubular snout, and the bulbous head structure that exists on their skull to help regulate their temperature. Their evolved form, Magmar, have a more vivid yellow and red flame pattern on their bodies, with black rings around their neck and ankles, 5 clawed digits on their hands, and a tail flame that burns brightly on the tip of their tail. There are ruffled patches of hide on their arms, and they have a flame-like set of extensions on their head, their beige bill offering a perfect window through which their internal flames can be injected. With their final evolution Magmortar, their overall body shape becomes rounder as their body color intensifies, developing a flame-like tail in its entirety, flaming extensions on the shoulders, and a series of dull red spikes on their back. Their bill wraps around the sides of their head in this state, with black marks near their eyes, and their hands have changed form to resemble cannons for a better generation of flaming projectiles. Even at their youngest stage of development, the blood within these creatures circulates through their bodies at temperatures close to those observed in Magmar, granting Magby a body temperature of nearly 1,100 degrees Fahrenheit. Because they are easily fatigued and their immune systems are relatively weak and unable to cope with many types of viruses and parasites, plus their internal arrangement makes it harder for females to survive and thus leaves their birth rate at a ratio of 1 to 3 in favor of males, however, Magby must keep their blood temperature at relatively high levels in order to keep themselves healthy, as well as rest in magma regularly, hence their inclination to live near and within volcanoes.
If flames begin to drip from their snout, it is usually a sign that they have a cold and need to lay down in an area of extreme heat, such as magma, in order to recuperate.
As this may indicate, Magby and by extension their evolved forms adore extreme heat to a fault, often appearing in large numbers near pools of lava or wherever they sense lava to be close to the surface. This proves to be a useful warning sign for people living near active volcanoes, as the appearance of these creatures in large numbers above ground is a likely sign of an approaching volcanic eruption. When Magby evolve, their body temperature nearly doubles to 2,192 degrees Fahrenheit as a result of higher metabolisms. The insides of Magmar essentially become hard enough to initiate combustion reactions with air outside of their bodies, so they are constantly enveloped by an orange glowing sheath of fire, and the mere action of them breathing is enough to raise the ambient air temperature. Because their skin is completely heat-proof and fireproof though, this presents no physical problems to them. In fact, Magmar have come to rely on their fiery body sheath as a way of hiding themselves from sight, blending their bodies in relatively easily and disappearing completely from the eyes of creatures with light or thermal-based vision, while additionally using it as a psychological weapon, as the rippling glare given off by the sheath invokes the same psychological responses generated by the sun's intense glare, distracting and often confusing opponents who stare directly at it for too long, as a modified confuse ray technique that can rattle their opponents and render them incapable of properly battling under most situations. Evolution into Magmortar further causes a spike in the body temperature, increasing to over 3,600 degrees Fahrenheit. At such high internal temperatures, even the breath of Magmortar sears and sizzles the air around it, and generates a slight heat wave of its own, making anything even remotely near these creatures unbearably warm, and amplifying all the above-mentioned attributes that much more so.
Not surprisingly, the extreme heat that these creatures give off is enough to sometimes burn those that make direct contact, giving them access to Flame Body as their only base ability. Though those that are able to use their own body to shock themselves into an alert state at all times can also have Vital Spirit as a hidden ability.
In looking at their stats, in the case of Magmortar, it can be said that these beasts are not the best at taking damage physically and do not have a tremendous deal of stamina to them, but they are at least decently fast, and their capacity to utilize and resist damage from special attacks is still fairly high, so their base speed stat is about average and their base special attack and special defense stats above average for a fully evolved fire-type Pokemon, making them good at what the type often does best and a fiery nightmare to have to contend with from afar. While Magby are capable of utilizing powerful fire-type moves from a fairly early age and can breathe fire at the same temperature as their own body temperature, they do not have full control over their combustion organs, especially when they are excited or surprised. As a result, a slow but steady discharge of hot embers can continuously dribble out of their mouth as they breathe. Despite this, the heat that they radiate as a result of their heated forms can be surprisingly intense, enough to even evaporate a small pond if they accidentally fall into one. In addition, failed combustion reactions are quite common when Magby are fatigued, causing them to spew out black smoke with every blast of fire. This is actually one of the few sure ways of determining a Magby's health, as healthy Magby will spew out clean yellow flames every time they utilize their combustion organs. The high blood temperatures prevent any other sort of basic medical diagnosis from being easily determined. Thankfully for most, although still quite powerful, the flames that Magby spew are generally on the softer side of intensity, and many potters in places such as the Alola region utilize these soft flames in order to produce fine works of pottery that would otherwise be baked to a crisp by the more intense flames of other beasts.
Although they have full control over their powers, minus the flames that shoot out of their mouths when they sneeze, Magmar are more dangerous to have around than Magby because their higher body temperatures force them to alter the environment in order to meet their preferences.
If their environment is too cold and or if Magmar are angered, Magmar will spew streams of fire around them in order to raise the ambient air temperature and burn to ash the cause of their anger if possible, hence the designation as the Spitfire Pokémon. As a result, they tend to be hardier in places like the Alola region, where they don't have to expend so much energy to raise temperature to a point where it feels comfortable to them. Magmar perform the same action when attempting to intimidate or attack opponents, though the effect can be more severe in the latter case and might leave them regretting their actions if they accidentally burn said prey to a charred crisp. As the ambient air temperature rises, the sheath of fire around their bodies grows in size and intensity and, at high enough temperatures, it will begin to generate massive heat waves. Although the heat waves are powerful enough to ignite nearby plants and objects relatively easily, Magmar cannot utilize this ability in the form of an actual heat wave attack because of its instantaneous nature. Finally, it is interesting to note that Magmar have the bizarre ability to heal wounds by dipping them in lava or magma. It is possible that the combined heat of their body temperature and the lava or magma may be enough to cauterize their otherwise fireproof skin, but this still doesn't explain the presence of near-instant cell regeneration. It is possible, however, that their cellular growth rates are directly influenced by heat and thrive when in the presence of extraordinarily high temperatures. Even if they are not injured though, it is not uncommon to see Magmar leaping into the open mouths of volcanoes and soaking in the magma contained within in order to ease their weariness when they are tired. Magmar are considered to be the fully developed adult form of the evolutionary line and are thus unable to evolve under normal circumstances. However, when exposed to certain types of radiation at extremely high temperatures, Magmar will rapidly mutate into Magmortar. For convenience purposes, the specific type of radiation needed is often packaged within items called Magmarizers, which only activate when a Magma holding one is traded. This mutation causes the bodies of Magmar to harden and thicken internally and externally, and turns their combustion organ into something akin to a magma chamber, essentially transforming them into living furnaces. While this mutation increases their base HP, defense, and special attack stats, it also reduces their base speed stat due to their added weight. As a result of this radical mutation, the arms and hands of Magmar are also transformed into living cannons.
While Magmar normally utilize the combustion organs within their throat in order to spew fire, inhaling large volumes of air and oxygen in order to increase the power of the fire inside of them, Magmortar are anatomically arranged in such a way as to allow their entire bodies to fuel their attacks, using their arms as pressurized cannons for their primary attacks, hence the designation as the Blast Pokémon.
This gives Magmortar the direct advantage of being able to launch huge fireballs in temperatures close to their natural body temperature that can burn opponents to a blackened crisp. At such high temperatures, however, their bodies tend to take on a whitish hue while attacking, and their arms actually start to melt a little bit after a full barrage of strikes, though this damage is naturally repaired over time, and are thus more than capable of striking fear in anything foolish enough to look directly at them. In addition, the modification of their arms into cannons makes Magmortar one of the few fire-type Pokemon able to learn the Hyper Beam attack naturally. Furthermore, Magmortar are able to utilize several specialty TMs and TRs, including Thunderbolt, Solar Beam, and Rock Slide, that are normally beyond the capabilities of Magmar.
Aside from the physical distinctions accompanying their evolutionary mutation, though, Magmortar essentially have most of the same mannerisms and abilities found in Magmar, including the sheath of fire that covers their body and their tendency to spew fire everywhere to heat up colder surroundings.
The only real change that is observed in their behavior is that they become less communal in nature and tend to live in pairs within volcanoes, consisting of a single male and a single female that live as breeding partners for life. Regardless, the fact that they are far more powerful than either Magby or Magmar can make them challenging to handle even if they don't always have numbers on their side, and could thus be extremely difficult to overcome in most battles.
A fiery force to contend with no matter what the environment may be like, the members of the Magby family are potent fire spitters that can easily roast anything that gets too close to them. You might have to go out of your way to get them to the strongest state of being, but the effort can be more than worth it once you see the kind of literal firepower they can pack.
Just do yourself a favor and try not to take too much advantage over them if you choose to camp with one. They might make a good substitute for a campfire, but if you decide to be a bit funny and use them to roast some marshmallows, you'll have no one but yourself to blame if they decide to turn up the heat and end up taking an entire forest down with them.
Thank you all for watching this video. It is always a pleasure to help teach others about the world of Pokemon and the many facets of it that exist in both the world we call home and the world they call home. If you'd like, please leave a comment and subscribe and ring the bell to this channel to get regular updates on content and anything else that might be going on. You can find me and my written work on DeviantArt under the name Utitus, and be informed of information and content uploads on my Twitter page and my Patreon page. Donations are always welcome. Always remember, the world of Pokemon is a vast and varied place, and there's no telling what secrets might be hiding just around the corner. So keep watch, stay vigilant, and always prepare for the unexpected. Until next time, have a wonderful rest of the day.